It gives you an offer for scholarship. It
Right.
gives you a lot of people flaunt their GMAT score on their CVs for financial modeling and risk advisory profiles for a GS or a JPMC or a TAR Watson as well. Saying this,
GMAT score for consulting.
I see people
Yeah.
on LinkedIn saying top 1 percentile, and it's super amazing.
Yeah. 760, 790 and like whatnot. Hello everyone. So today's episode is going to be really special because I have my mentor with me today sharing all his insight. I'm sure watching this video will change your life because it changed mine because of the right information he provided right in the beginning of my career. So let's get started. I'll invite Ayush to just give a brief introduction, like what he do and how he's changing life of thousands of students. So Ayush, up to you.
So thank you, Mir. Thank you. It's a pleasure to have me here on this podcast. So I am a quintessential engineering plus MBA graduate with a not so quintessential career growth after it. My work experience across corporate is 4 months, 2 months post engineering and 2 months post my MBA. I've been operating in the GMAT, CAT space for a very long time now. Been mentoring almost over 10,000 kids on a daily, yearly basis. Love to spread the positivity around, teach, and as Mihir says, it's important for us to have the right set of information to the right set of people through the right set of channels. So that's what I predominantly do.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that crisp information and introduction. So I have prepared few set of questions for you, and I'm sure everyone who is preparing for the MBA, or if you're already in a business school, these set of questions would have come in your mind at least once in your entire journey. So let's get started. I have first question for you, Ayush. This goes like, okay, tell us that why an early to mid-career professional should opt for an MBA and not for a specialized master, and the other way around.
So I'll tell you, I mean, very interestingly, I got a couple of candidates today who've had a 9 to 10 years of work experience across IT, analytics, and product management. So we probably divide this into two streams of discipline. One is if you have worked for 9, 10 years in product or analytics, you might be feeling an upper ceiling in your career. Now, this upper ceiling could be because you're probably not being promoted because you do not have a master's in a relevant discipline, or you do not have a general master's, and you also see that your package kind of hits an upper ceiling. So one is if you're very curious to become a master of one specialized field, a specialized MBA would work for you. Having said that, on an extremely personal level, I believe that being a master of some disciplines has always helped you get into more of strategic CXO roles than becoming a master of one. So if you're looking to become a CXO of, say, a strategy or a consulting or anything, general MBA is always preferred. And you might believe that you want to make an absolute career in analytics by pursuing a specialized course. But what if the industry changes in the next 2 years? A general set of discipline, a general set of skill set improvement will always be a safer bet than to just have an analytics thing. Not to say that a specialized degree is absolutely not a big problem. I mean, looking at how the tech revolution is taking place, it's great to have it. I'm just trying to preempting the risk that might occur because of an AI revolution coming in or similar to that.
Right.
And if you see, I mean, businesses don't run on specialized fields, they largely run on a more generic skill set. So if you want to get into a boardroom deciding the next 5-year, 10-year plans of a company, you probably need to pick up a more general MBA. And essentially at the Salme, you've anyway had a good exposure to where you want to have. The whole reason of picking up a specialized or an MBA is because you probably do not want to work there anymore. That predominantly would be one of the reasons.
Absolutely. And with AI coming into the picture, we believe that it's more of soft skill that is going to play a bigger role into the organization rather than hard skill, because the AI is there, right?
Correct.
To code.
Correct.
AI is there even to guide you with the strategy.
Correct.
Someone coming up presenting it with all the core soft skills, I think that play
I mean,
a major role.
3 competitors can probably create a PPT with AI. But the one that gets sold is someone who probably convinces you. I mean, I talk about these about teachers. I mean, teachers, doctors. AI could probably give you a medicine based on your symptoms. But can an AI probably pat at your back and say everything will go back? Can you actually go to AI and seek some solace that I've not scored a great percentile in my GMAT mock test? How do you feel about it? The AI will give you a very standard answer. Go do this. But at so many times you would need just a pat on the back. Go and have a couple of drinks and say, ho jayega. That's probably a more important that AI will not be able to do.
Perfect. Yes, absolutely. Great. Thank you so much. I mean, that was really brief. This next question we have that says, like, how does an MBA from a top business school helped in your career? I mean, you graduated from MDI, and we all know that you are operating at a very higher level now. So, how does this help you in your career? If you can guide us onto that.
So I'll tell you. See, bragging rights is something I always say. I have a bragging right, and very interestingly, when I was trying to get jobs, when a lot of you from top B school try to get a job, I find this funny, but that's how the market operates. We are actually asked to send our CV in a certain format which says MDI underscore Ayush Gupta underscore the batch. The brand that I've graduated from takes precedence over my name. That tells you that the companies would probably run a software where they are going to do a due analysis. Okay, you're not from these particular colleges, I won't even let you have a foot in the door. Plus, because I run my own setups, and this is right after graduating out of MDI, I realized I could have taken this risk is because I had a brand name to fall back on.
Right.
A year down the line, I knew that I probably can just drop an email to my alumni and I would be fixated somewhere. Might not be at a great package, but I had a better risk-taking appetite because I was coming from a brand. That's pure brand leverage. Second is, you're probably taken a little more respectful in a society. Your relatives probably might say that he is my cousin and all that stuff. Those are soft skills on this aspect. But
Right,
yes,
right,
the
right.
2 years over there, a lot of people say that it's a boiling pot out there. The corporate doesn't function that way, and I agree. But those 2 years are probably the 2 years that are making you ready for an industry intensive thing. I have my friends working in consulting, financial, risk modeling. They put in 14, 15 hours of job every day, and a lot of people keep on talking
Right.
about work-life balance. But if someone loves to work for 14 years and is getting paid for it, and that's his own choice, that's his own choice, right? And
Right.
this something
Right.
was probably he or she was exposed the most at MDI. We had 2 o'clock classes in the night. A lot of people cribbed about it, but that was a different fun, right? Having a presentation from
Right.
2 to 3:30, going out to the mess, having a chai, coming back. It's a fun. It makes you industry ready. It makes you to at least take something which you might not even have thought in the worst of your dreams.
Right.
Plus,
Right.
with every 6 to 8 subjects, you have presentation. So, not for me, but I know a lot of my batchmates who were extremely scared of even jumping on a stage. Say, after graduating, working for a year in a corporate, came back and said that I'm thankful to my college for getting me so much of exposure. Because the grades were attached to it, people used to come down on the stage and speak something. But gradually, what
Right.
happened was
Right.
they kind of became extremely comfortable at it. And that's what driving them in the industry.
Right.
So,
Right.
risk taking,
Absolutely.
pressure absorption, these are the things that you can do.
Right, right. Thank you so much. Look, I can relate something to it because, as you said, no, MDI, your college brand name precedes you. So, I'll tell you something here. At Schulich, Schulich is famous for entrepreneurship, and then there's a lot of VCs out there. They only fund people coming from the Schulich. So, these are actual thing, and if someone is watching this, this is not just out there. It really happens in once you graduate into top business school, for sure.
You get an amazing funding ecosystem if you're from Stanford GSB.
Right, right.
They won't even look at you if you're not from GSB. You could talk about a lot of biasness over there, but I guess
Absolutely,
they've
absolutely.
probably put them into a boiling pot to deserve that luck.
No, agreed, completely agreed. That is something true, and this should fuel everyone to aspire for a top business school,
I
right?
agree.
If you can, and if you have some time to put in those effort, those extra hours, I think that is definitely going to pay.
You need to
in
experience
the
it
longer
to
run.
experience it. Simple enough.
Oh yes, absolutely, absolutely, nicely said. Okay, perfect. So we have a third question, and it says do you think that global exposure provided by an international MBA truly offers a competitive edge?
I do.
And
I do.
Why are the IIMs are lacking in this upfront? If you can also
So I might
talk on
sabotage
that.
my own business saying this, but I really do not like the way IIMs operate in India. I honestly believe that MBA as a degree should always be offered after a couple of years of work experience. I honestly realized that I had a couple of freshers in my classroom, not demeaning them, but they were very pedantic when it came to classroom course learning. They were all about getting a great CGPA. Not their fault, because Indian companies also come down to the campus and say if you have a CG of below 8, you're not fit for a consulting. Again, when you are spoiled for choices, even at a top school, you probably have 240 people fighting for 5 Goldman Sachs seats. So they need to have their own criterion. But the case studies that happen in the college, the kind of diversity that an engineer and a non-engineer and econometrics graduate brings into the classroom to discussing a case study. See, businesses run for masses. They don't run
Right.
for an engineer or a non-engineer alone. So if you're trying to run businesses for a masses, trying to run corporates for everyone across the globe, you probably need to have a global mindset with a bit of localization. I
Right,
mean, I remember I sent kids abroad, and a lot of people say that first trimester was amazing experience. That first 3 days they were seeking out an Indian, and ironically, after a month,
yes,
a Chinese or a Japanese or a Middle East guy probably ended up becoming their best friend. So at
right,
MDI in
right.
my fifth
Agreed.
trimester, I had a exchange. I had a couple of exchange students coming in. A German student came in and he taught me the importance of respecting the timeline. So I said we're gonna have a team meeting at 2 o'clock in the night. First of all, they're not very comfortable around that. He says, "Who does 2 o'clock meeting? It's my Friday night." I said, "We are fighting
Right,
here for
right,
grade points." He says, "You might be fighting for your grade point, but for me, it's my life." That's the first thing I
right.
learned, that not every civilization and country takes grade points as its score. Then he was there right at 1:58. He said, if my time is from 2 to 2:15, I will leave by 2:15. I got to know the hard way behind it. We and one of my batchmates went to have chai, and I said 2:5 chalte hain. We were at 2:05. He was so furious, but he said, okay, let's start. 2:15 he was out. We had to finish the whole project by ourselves, and we could not even blame him. He said, it's your fault you didn't come for 2. So that's
Oh
what
my
you learn,
God.
right? If you have to operate globally, you
Right,
need to learn the nuances of operating globally.
right, right. Absolutely. I mean, no, as you started saying that one of your student, like, no, they started seeking Indians abroad. Even I did the same. When we came in Toronto, like we were looking for our comfort zone to interact with people, those who are from Delhi, those who are from
Correct.
Gurgaon, possibly
Correct.
Hyderabad.
Correct.
Eventually, you understand that you came here for diversity. You
Correct.
came here for meeting people from different origin,
Correct.
right? And once you start going out of your comfort zone, you learn so much from different culture,
I mean, the
and that I
initial
would
2 days would
appreciate
be
that.
difficult, but then that's where you live. That's where you live.
And that's something, gave us a broader picture. Okay,
Correct.
when you communicate with an American or possibly an European or someone coming from Pakistan, so you understand their culture obviously, and their mindset, like, how they think of a business, how they operate in their own
Correct.
country. So definitely this is something I believe is kind of lacking in IIMs, I
Correct.
guess. But I mean,
I mean, I just
let's
hope
see.
they come out with. I mean, I heard
Yeah,
a
yeah.
news that IIMs last year with. I mean, this could probably send ripples in the industry. They were probably trying to come down and and end their 2 year program and focus on 1 year program. Not going to happen. I mean, ISB has been trying hard to get international faculty. They do get international faculty.
Yes.
Unfortunately, they do not get a lot of international students. I mean, the country
Right,
as a whole
right.
needs to do a lot of stuff here.
Right, right, absolutely. Perfect, perfect. So that brings us to our next question. We have, can an early to mid career professional switch career through an MBA? Because there has been a lot of noise in there that now if someone who has already accomplished something in their career, let's say worked for 2 years, 4 years, 5 years, does an MBA help them to kind of switch a career altogether?
So I'll not sugarcoat it. See, it's difficult, right? I mean,
Right,
and it's difficult given the fact that we Indians, I mean, predominantly if I talk to Indians, we're mostly IT folks here who want to change their careers. Uh, Great to have a good salary at the early start of your career, but you realize it's going to come down with a ceiling in terms of role, growth, or package. Now, what I would suggest here is, if say 2 years down the line you realize that you want to get into finance, we Indians
right,
again don't operate very 0-1. We say, let's see kya hota hai. Now, I'm talking to
right.
someone who probably decides that he wants to get into a private equity space. What I would
Mm-hmm.
suggest here is he could probably pick up a CFA L1 L2 before starting his MBA program. Then he picks
Right,
up a couple of relevant certifications, get into an MBA program, try to pick up electives that are more financially suited. You might have to compromise with your package a little bit. I mean, you can't expect an IT firm, because you have had an IT work experience, might pay you because you're relevant to that job profile.
right,
A
right,
financial company is taking a bet on you. You don't carry a finance ka work ex, but the company is betting on you. You might have to realign your expectations, but it's all right. You're not going to work for a year. You're going to work for 30 years of your career in a discipline that you have chosen for yourself. Give it a bit
agreed.
of time, and it does happen. But it will need efforts. I mean, I could say the same thing about consulting. I know people who have worked in big 3, big 4 before getting into their MBA programs in a risk advisory profile, audit analyst, have a head start. But the companies are
Right,
again spoiled for choices. So on there, you could probably pick up a black belt certification. There are so many certifications, at least letting the company know that you have done some kind of work. And it's not all hunky dory that on one day you heard that a consulting guy gets a 2 CR ka package and therefore you want to do consulting. You seriously want to do consulting. But it's
right, right,
possible.
right.
It's difficult, but it's possible.
Right. So basically, you're saying that no, they should be pre-prepared right? Before joining an MBA, and MBA could be like a cherry on the cake,
Could be could be
right?
just the right set of launchpad for them to say that I'm a CFA L2 guy. Take me into a
Right.
financial profile.
Perfect. Perfect.
And again, you have to get a
So
good CGPA. To be very honest, academics for me is important. I didn't accomplish it, but I'll always say it's important.
it's important. Right. Perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much for that answer. There's one interesting question that tell us the key factor one should consider before choosing an Indian MBA and MBA abroad.
So for an Indian, money is very important. A lot of Indians, again, I was having a conversation. He said, I'm not going to go to US, even at a Harvard, Stanford, or a Wharton, because I'm not going to get a visa. Fair argument. But again, if you're going to an M7 school or a T10 schools, your visa process compliances should be that the backdrop. Go to an amazing school.
Right.
That's first.
Right.
Canada again as a country offers you a good PR. I mean there are challenges here and there with establishments and all that stuff. But keeping all that aside, here is money is an important factor for Indians. Scholarship is an important factor. We come from a very
Right.
closely knitted society. So I know at 26 you might be expected to marry, have kids by 28 and all that stuff. So this is something very, very important. And therefore I say if you want to pick up an MBA before you're married. So I might say the whole operating expenses, how closely aligned to your family, right? And don't come by thinking that you would go back. That will rarely
Right.
happen. When I see a lot of people, I'll work for 5 years, 8 years, earn and then come back. People have. But that's something which is not going to happen at least for the next couple of years. I have had one
Right.
example out of 100. So I think money, have a strong ecosystem of your family that supports you in your decision. If you have a relationship in your home country, understand that you need to get your partner, say everything and she or he is there for your support. And obviously the PR processes and how strongly the companies are going to absorb you if there are visa
Right.
compliances around.
Right. I mean, perfectly, you put in like a few of the pointers saying that the scholarship, the cost factor, where a lot of people try to seek scholarship because the cost is a real thing here.
Cost is a
No, not only the living expenses, the school expenses, the living expenses is also huge, right? So, I mean, a lot of people come into no, possibly go abroad saying that no, I will figure out something while studying, but that doesn't happen, right?
That's
Because
difficult.
your MBA, your master's program are really hectic,
Correct.
and pulling out time to do those part-time jobs might not be a possibility.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
if you are planning for a abroad study, I would say have your finances done firsthand, and then go on and choose your colleges.
I
Because
mean, pick up an A4, write the maximum expense you can have. That will
Right,
be a
right.
better indicator.
Right. So a lot of people does this, the other way. Like no, they select the colleges, then they see for the I mean the cost, the finance. But what I believe is finances should be the something you should consider first, and then choose this college.
I mean, unless you're getting a Stanford admit or a Chicago booth, I'm cool with
yeah,
it.
I mean,
but again, then you
yeah,
have to
that's-
contextualize money, right? You're not going to
Right,
spend
right,
1.5 CR just because a Chicago booth. You'll have to contextualize your finances. I mean,
Absolutely.
a 7th ranked school with a 10% scholarship versus a 12th ranked school with a 70% scholarship, you should think.
Absolutely. Agreed. So, again, cost is a real thing as stated by Ayush. I mean, definitely you should consider them the first hand for sure. Cool. Thank you so much. Again, we have another question that says, let us know the process of getting a scholarship. I mean, like, no, we spoke about the cost, right? If someone is really determined, no, I want to go for US, no, I am really want to settle down there or possibly Canada, Europe, and cost is something bothering me. So what are the 1 or 2 ways you can recommend getting into that scholarship zone?
I mean, couple of things here. See, we probably Indians are used to growing up with academic scholarships. I mean, you do great, you get a 9 CGPA, 10 CGPA, you probably have organizations sponsoring. That's largely true. I mean, you have a Reliance, you have a Tata's. And remember, these scholarships aren't known to a lot of people. So you'll really
Right.
have to budge down, do a lot of quick Google search, get a curated Google search. There are companies that sponsor you. People don't get to know about it. Second here is, on an international school, it's an academic scholarship. It's a merit-based scholarship. I've always told people to probably go for a merit-based scholarship if the GMAT score is high. That's where the GMAT score
Right.
really comes in handy, right? Apart from the admit, it also helps you increase your scholarship chances. Plus, some stories that always sell with Indians is that for a girl candidate is you probably come from a patriarchal family, and I'm sure their family is not even the least patriarchal, but you could probably make yourself a little more poor, a little more needy, and get a scholarship. So that's one. I mean, and also your career goals need to be extremely clear. I mean, I've loved this about international schools. They just don't give you a scholarship because you need it. They'll
Right.
probably want you to give it back to them or to the society. I mean, they're fine with giving you 100 rupees ka waiver, but they will need to be told that this is what you're coming them to. Money should not be the first factor that you're coming them. Your learning outcomes, your career goals, the golden handshake between your goals and what can university give you should be at priority. And if the university finds you extremely fit, it will leave no stone unturned to have you. So academic and need.
Completely agreed. And especially when it comes to the scholarship, one should look for US schools because they are more,
open to
handy.
giving out.
While open, absolutely, they are like, they'll love to have you if you fit into their like culture, their school. And I think with even moderate to low GMAT, they're happy to have
They're
you.
happy to
But
have
if you
you.
can
I
get
mean, they will probably discount a couple of their more important parameters, but will love to have you. This is what I love about their educational system. It's not about that if you don't have a 760 on the GMAT, they'll not have you. It's about you might have a 725 or a 715. But if standard finds you fit in, they'll be happy to have you. They might even fly you. I know one candidate who was asked to fly in by sponsoring their flight.
Right. Absolutely. Perfect. Thank you for that. I mean, having said that, like, what does admission process look like? Like, if you can talk about and guide us, because I know you have been admission consultant, GeoMat tutor as well. So, how does the admission process look like? If someone is sitting out there and planning their admission abroad, like when do they start with the process and how do they figure out things?
So it's extremely important. This doesn't work like Indian exams, right? So Indian exams is you have a date on an exam, you give out an exam, the results come out. If there are further processes, you get through those processes and then you start your admission cycle by June next year. For a GMAT or a GRE based admit, you really have to plan a year in advance because there are different rounds of admission, right? So round 1, round 2, round 3. Dates will probably, round 1 will be out September, round 2 is December, round 3 is January. Might come out, might not come out. European schools have a rolling way of getting their processes, the HEC and NCERT. So GMAT needs to be sorted by July at max. If you're an early starter, understand you would need 2 attempts for the GMAT, right? I hate to say this, it's a costly exam, but you might need 2 attempts. The first exam that you give for GMAT is a mock for you. It's a real mock for you. And if you give it and get your sorted score by your GMAT score by say June or July, I would strongly suggest that you start thinking about your applications from April. I mean, a lot of admission consultants say, get me a GMAT score, and it's just fair on their part. All that I'm trying to say here is, get your GMAT score between the months of say March, April, May, June, and also start thinking about your goals at least say in April. Do not hire an admission consultant, do not start being very finicky about your answers, but on a good day, on a bad day, just sit with yourself for half an hour and start scribbling something about yourself in your copies. It could be about your goals, it could be about where do you want to land up, anything around it, so that if you have your great GMAT score by July, the next 1 month or 1.5 months can completely be devoted to your applications because you have had some kind of material ready. The applications do make you think, and it's difficult to talk about yourself. Trust me on that. It's extremely difficult to talk about yourself. You can talk about 10 minutes on anyone else, but not about you. Plus, very importantly, set your recommenders. They are outside your control. Your admission consultant and you might sit 12 hours in the night to get your application done. But your recommender will not wake up at 1 o'clock just to fill in your recommender. So an early start and a more planned start is going to help you. You get your offers by say November. What it does here is, if you apply to a moderate school in September and you get an offer, and then you improve your GMAT score in November, you can actually be a little more ambitious to apply to a Chicago booth or a higher level school. And you can show this to a higher level school that have got an offer from a 12th ranked school. That does bring in a little more seriousness if they love you. So they'll be a little more pressurized to roll out their offers.
Absolutely. So, I mean, just to put in the line, so if someone is basically trying to have admit next year by 2025, so they should be into the picture of taking GMAT by now, or you should have taken it by now.
Should have taken it by now.
Right?
You should have a GMAT score that you probably are fairly satisfied about. Yeah. And then your entire application process takes you like around a month or 2 months. I would say 2 to 3 months.
2 to 3 months.
Because I'm talking about people who are working alongside.
Right.
So you might not have, you probably have put in 9 hours and you come back and then you're asked to write about yourself. I'm not going to write. I'm sure I'll take a weekend on that.
Right. Agreed. But for me, it was I was kind of lucky in that case. I had you. So
we had each other. You were working
had each other. So I got it done in like 10-15 days. So if you have a friend's mentor like Ayush, I mean, I would definitely say you don't have to worry. So in my case, that was taken out. But again, I mean, like fair timeline, guys. You should have taken the GMAT by now. If you have not, I would say rush for a month or two, right? Get it done, right? And then start your admission application process, I would say.
Correct.
And Ayush is expert in, in application process and writing. The entire process that takes.
Just to
into
add
the
on, I
picture.
am
So you
not
can-
going to write your essays. I'll help you write your essays. I have to say.
Definitely. So I'll drop his email ID in the comments. You can reach out to him and seek his help. So great. Thank you so much.
Perfect.
Now, one question that generally I had in my mind, and I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who's watching this video would have a similar question. But so CAT or GMAT, which one tests the ability of a candidate better?
GMAT, very honestly, GMAT focus is brilliant. I mean, because again, GMAT is one exam that keeps on remodeling itself to the need of the industry. I mean, if you see they've,
Right.
I don't love when they've dropped sentence correction. My reasons here is
Right.
because, I mean, a lot of people say grammatical skills are redundant, but ask a consultant when he writes an email. I mean, the importance of a comma being put or not being put can actually alter the combination, and an attorney in US is going to rip you apart for it. But that's a conversation for yet another day. But I love because again, the world is getting a little more analytical, a little more tech oriented. So if you see how data insights has been included as a part of your scoring methodology is brilliant. It's not data interpretation, it's data insight. So if you happen to look at the section here itself, it's not purely maths. You have actually critical reasoning being imbibed in maths, and it's a brilliant way. Critical reasoning, reading comprehension, guys, remember these two skills are going to be your life skills. These are not GMAT skills or GRE skills. I mean, you should reason out. I mean, there's something I believe for the whole education fraternity across the globe. Critical reasoning skills are one kind of skills that should be incorporated in your school curriculum. You should be allowed to think. People who've been allowed to think, question the status quo, have ended up achieving so much. Quant, again, it doesn't have to be extremely difficult like CAT is. I mean, you're not trying to find out engineers who can design big bridges. You're just trying to test a basic aptitude. But again, CAT is an examination of rejection. I mean, picking 2,000 odd candidates from 3 lakh people is not selection. The 2,000 first candidate is as brilliant as the 2,000 candidate. He's just not lucky. The GMAT expects you to take the exam at any point of time when you're ready. Takes you a more holistic feature. Your score might be screwed up on one particular day because the stars were not right for you. But it allows you to come back to it again after a certain number of days. You screw up CAT, your year is wasted. It's a very different way of looking at the exam.
Right, and people put in like entire year of preparation for a CAT.
And I put their entire life. I mean, I know people break up because they're preparing for CAT. I haven't heard anyone saying this for GMAT, but it's a more flexible exam at the end of the day.
Right. And you can take GMAT. You can take your next GMAT just in 15 days. That's something.
I mean, I could reschedule my GMAT as well if I'm not ready on that day. I might take a financial hit, but that's my choice.
Right. Agreed. So GMAT gets you that flexibility for sure. And when it comes to the CAT, I mean, I completely respect you if you're preparing for CAT, but this is something you have to consider that it's a one shot in a year.
You're putting all your eggs in one basket. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, to be honest.
It doesn't work out. Right. Great. Thank you so much for that again. There's another one. It says, we see that some top universities are moving away from GMAT and GRE criteria. Do you believe that this will degrade the quality?
I mean, interestingly, that used to happen in COVID. There are probably a lot of universities. This is predominantly for SATs. I mean, this is pre-COVID as well. A lot of US universities who take in SAT and ACT have been blamed about biases. I mean, see, I agree. It's a spoken English. It's an English exam. I mean, even in India, I say that if you come from a good family, you anyway have an automatic advantage at an examination such as CAT, GMAT, or SAT. Plus, you could hire the costliest of tutors who can help you crack an exam. Might not upskill you. Right? So COVID probably saw that a lot of schools were probably trying to take SAT, ACT from their admission criteria, and I completely respect that decision. For me, the important part is then what alternatives are you considering? So X is being replaced with Y, not just X is being taken aback. I mean, I could extend the same argument for application process. I mean, you could hire the top admission consultants who could write flowery language and make it look like you were never that version of yours. I've had candidates coming back and telling me, is that my essay? I'm not even this, right? That's one. Second here is a lot of schools now have realized that the COVID batch, which was actually admitted without SAT or GMAT or a GRE score, unfortunately to say, had slightly less ability of skill sets than what a GMAT batch. See, at the end of that, it's an examination that you're prepared for. And anything that you put your some kind of efforts in will help you improve even 1%. So in fact, a lot of universities are coming back to reinstate these standardized tests. Or else, if you're from an Indian community or a Chinese or a Korean community, assume that the GMAT waiver written on the university's website is not for you. You have to give your
Right.
GMAT score because we're the ultra competitive people applying. If nothing else, the
Right.
GMAT score gives you an extra edge for your final offer. It gives you an offer for scholarship. It
Right.
gives you a lot of people flaunt their GMAT score on their CVs for financial modeling and risk advisory profiles for a GS or a JPMC or a TAR Watson as well.
Right, right. Agreed, agreed. So, I mean, a lot of benefits for sure. Now, I mean, you can definitely get into finance. Even I know people, those who have, flaunt their
They keep on flaunting this.
GMAT score for consulting.
I see people
Yeah,
on LinkedIn saying top 1 percentile and it's super amazing.
yeah. 760, 790, and like whatnot. Great, great. So, perfect. Thank you for that again. We are just down to three questions. It says, I see that second MBA, especially in the US, right, is very prominent among MBA graduates. People those who have graduated in India, they look forward to second MBA in US specifically. What do you have to say about that?
My batch has 30% people who moved to US for their second MBA. My junior batch has 40%. My class representative and one of the sections is a graduate out of Harvard. My 3 seniors are from Harvard, Stanford, Wharton. I'll tell you a couple of reasons
Nice.
around it. I'm working with someone who's graduated out of FMS before last year working for a Paytm as a product manager. One
Okay.
is you pick up your engineering degree, undergrad degree, you crack CAT with a great percentile because you're good at cracking examinations. You get into a B school
Examination.
because
Yes.
your parents want you to complete your education. You also want to complete your education because you've been living in a bubble which says complete your education, earn 30 lakhs, enjoy your life. Unfortunately, you realize that when you come into the industry, those 30 lakh comes with a lot of hard work, responsibility that you may not like because you realize you could be great with finance because that paid you the most. You might not be made for it.
Right.
Second here is, one is the fitment of the industry after your first MBA. You might not fit in. So a lot of people stay in because they want to repay the loan, are still considering whether they are right in pursuing a second MBA because our generation or our culture is not open for a second MBA when you've already done an MBA, even from a
Right.
FMS or an IIM or an accelerate. So probably 3 years down the line, you realize, okay, Prodman is great, but I want to switch to finance now. Now you have an option. You don't have an option to do a second MBA here because Indian B schools won't take you. That's
Right.
one. I mean, it could be because you don't have an option, but you want to move in. Second is I've got an IIT IIM guy who has worked for 4 years at McKinsey Indian offices. Now he realized if he wants to move to US and make big bucks, swashing offices, wants to travel in jets and all that stuff, he realized that the pyramid is actually going to become shorter and thinner at the top, right? So you were able to get into McKinsey because you were an IIM Ahmedabad graduate. But how do you see your next promotion and movement to a swanky office in London? It's because then you're competing with a guy from HCC or a Wharton. Either you fight them or you become like them. Fighting
Right.
with them is going to be difficult because at the end of the day, you do realize that for a similar skill set, similar package, why would a McKinsey not give opportunity to a Wharton guy? There would be some kind of biasness, skill set, perception, branding that you're taking help for.
Right.
You become one like them. So you go to a Harvard, you pick up a second MBA, and then you probably are almost establishing that your way to becoming a partner is at least improved by 3 years. A lot of might say this has no end. But if the guy is ready to put in efforts and hard work, and if he believes that becoming a partner at McKinsey is his ultimate nirvana, let him do that. So one is because your first MBA was not thought through. Second is your first MBA was thought through and doing amazingly great at it, but you probably want to reach the top of the echelon, and that would need the intervention of a global school and not a regional
Right.
school. Unfortunately, IIMs could come in any ranking of a top 100 for 1-year courses. One is they don't give their 1-year course as much as value as 2-year, and the ranking global MBA
Right.
is for 1 year majorly.
1 year major.
Second is there is a clear difference between something of a global school and a regional school. Unfortunately, IIMs might be a great regional school. You might have a lot of alumni in US, but that doesn't translate into IIMs being global school. That's a problem with a lot of schools in their regional counterpart.
Right, right. I mean, a lot of nuggets for someone who is like watching this and deciding on their MBA abroad or MBA in India. So, I mean, great, great. I mean, I have seen a lot of people considering the second MBA, saying that I'm not looking for a growth. Like I'm not basically seeing those growth after an MBA. So, should I consider a second MBA? So, I mean, this
I mean,
answer
you
would
should seriously
definitely.
evaluate. You should seriously evaluate.
Right, right, definitely, definitely. Thank you again. So, this one question that I have been asked a lot of time. So, this says something like this: people with 2 to 15 years of work experience aspire for an MBA degree. Can you break down this cluster they should aim for? Like, if you have a varied experience between 2 to 15 years, what are the schools you should look for?
So for people between 2 to 5, US is becoming younger. 2 to 5 US, Canada, great schools to target. Yes, somewhere around 4 plus to 8, 9. US schools become slightly less in number because you would probably be wanting a 1 year course. You don't have a lot of US schools offering a 1 year. European schools are great at it. The problem with European schools is that they're not as capitalistic as US schools are in terms of the whole ecosystem. I mean, great schools to go to IE, IAC, SAD, I've got great candidates who have graduated out of there, but a lot of them come back and tell me that there's not enough chaos in those schools, which I agree with, and that's their way of working. I mean, in European schools, the chaotic schools may be majorly found in UK and some of these French schools, but you actually save a year. So if it's a 15-month track, you're actually getting back to the industry a year before. Plus, after 5 years of work experience, you would not really want to go for 2 years because you think that for you time is important. Now, I've got a certain candidate who's have a 7 years of work experience says, I did my undergrad from Delhi University, which was a non-hostel based experience. I want to go back and enjoy 2 years. For him, an option for a 2-year degree in US is not very high. A lot of US schools would come down and say that this is the 1-year course that I would want you to apply. And I love again this fact about the schools that they will probably see your fitment and not just because you're randomly applying. For 10 years, again, there's a genuine problem. I mean, for 10 years, the fact that you would be able to change your industry becomes lesser, and it's expected. I mean, you work for 10 years. Then you probably look at executive courses in US. There's one brilliant course by Stanford. There's one brilliant course by Kellogg. The challenge here is that in India, the executive courses are looked upon with a very frowning smile. We look upon it those 4 months, 6 months. Those are not executive courses. There's a clear difference in the definition that Indian B schools get into and international. For us, 2-year, 1 year and executive are different. For them, it's a 1 year and executive is again a full-time program that gets you full-time alumni status. That's not going to be the executive program where you can just flaunt the t-shirt because you've attended a 15 days program at an IIM. I see that in India.
Right. Great. Absolutely. So I had a GMAT candidate who was like around 10 years of experience, and he was evaluating his option in India and in US. So basically, I think this is a great answer for someone who is into the same shoes, and if you're looking forward to your options in India and also abroad. So yeah, thank you again. So there's one last question here. We say, any suggestion for an MBA aspirant sitting in one of the corporate offices or an undergrad college in India and aspiring for an MBA abroad?
Do an MBA first step. After a certain year, it becomes a necessity. I mean, when I say do an MBA, pick something in business degree. I mean, tech is great, but honestly, most of us get bored of tech. That's a reality. I mean, tech was paying heavily in India, at least a year back. It's getting difficult because again, there is an AI coming in, and because again, the funding winter has come in. I mean, I've always been a huge believer of bootstrap businesses. You cannot run your businesses on someone else's money for say 50 years. I mean, the legacy businesses have been created by people who sell a product at 10 rupees and earn a rupee out of it. So one is, but again, just do not do an MBA because someone else is doing it. I mean, I get so many people. My senior got into IIM Ahmedabad. He had a similar profile like mine, so I'll also get into IIM. Great. Take a step back. Think about what do you want to do in your life, and if you want to earn, MBA could be a good shift for you. It's a degree which is open to people from all the disciplines. An engineer can sit in, a non-engineer can sit in, anyone can sit in and make a career out of it. Just don't do it right after undergraduating because everyone else is doing it. Go back, work for a year more, stay in metros, enjoy a little, struggle a little, focus on CAT, GMAT, whatever it is, and then give your MBA exams. It's all right. And do not hurry up because people with more than 2 years of work experience is frowned upon at an IIM. It's all right. Just don't jump into it because a system doesn't respect it.
Right. Experience a life a little after you undergrad. Yeah, after you graduate and see through those corporate offices, talk to people, see if you are actually fit for any business or you are a techie guy. I mean, I see a lot of people.
आप techie करो कोई दिक्कत नहीं है.
Right. So I know a guy who did an MBA and then joined back as a software engineer. So I mean, this is how you I mean, this happens when you don't research.
You're very clear on what you want and you don't research about it. Correct.
Yeah, actually. So have some
some clarity. I mean, I don't want you to have absolute clarity. No one of us has.
No one, right.
I mean, I'm sure at this age I do not have it. But some part of it will definitely help you then to think nothing about it at all.
Nothing about it, right? Absolutely. So thank you so much. I mean, I believe all these questions is definitely going to help a lot of people and deciding on their MBA. And even if you are in a corporate office, you have done your MBA, and if you are thinking seriously about your second MBA, the answer would definitely help
I mean,
you.
introspect,
And
think. Just
introspect,
don't
absolutely.
shut down a view because it's not a mainstream view.
Right.
I mean, challenge the status quo. People respect people who have changed the societies for large.
Right, absolutely. Again, thank you so much. Thank you for your time. I know you're a busy guy.
It's all right,
You pulled
Prajeet.
out time.
It was a pleasure to have
Pulled out time.
us here.
Right,
Perfect.
right,
Chalo.
right. Thank you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, mate.
So, bye bye.
Bye
Take
bye.
care.